Fear is always present in our everyday lives, haunting our deepest thoughts, relationships, and decision-making processes. According to the dictionary, fear is an unpleasant emotion or thought that you might have when you are frightened or worried by something dangerous, painful, or bad that is happening or might happen. I believe that fear is something much more complicated. Fear is something that we don't and may never fully understand. This became clear to me before and during my expedition. My fears were so paralyzing that I almost did not go. So I used this time on the trip to reflect on the concept of fear.
Stopping me from doing really dumb things. It stops me from also doing some of the things I want to do.
It dictates everything from the activities that I do to daily life.
Be like a motivator, especially working in theater industry. It can give like energy to what I'm doing.
It's nothing that really keeps me up at night, but it's just, kind of just, it's there.
I have learned how to be with it and not let it kind of govern what I do.
I think fear drives me much more than I would probably like to believe.
As a child, there was a lot of, pressure just from parents and friends to fit in. A lot of my anxiety has come from that.
I think a lot of it has to do with a feeling of safety or security, or an idea of how I might want things to be, and the worry that those things might go wrong.
It's the unknown. I just think that that's just a normal part of daily existence. Starting a trip is almost like, whether it's in a kayak on a surfboard, when you're at the top of a wave ready to drop down into it, it's almost you feel a tiny little bit sick to your stomach. And it's just this fear and a little bit of excitement. And then once the trip gets going and once you get down a wave, it just gets really exciting and you're just having the best time ever, and then you just want to do it again.
When I'm noticing that I'm nervous about something, it's often about worrying that I'm doing the wrong thing in some way.
I would say that I'm successful some of the times, and some of the times I'm not successful at it. One of the greatest fears is a fear of failure. So, you go off and you do things and you don't do very well. The only way you're going to get better is to keep doing things, and you have to fail in order to get better.
Start moving in the direction of my fear. I will come to it, cross that bridge, overcome that obstacle, get over my fear. It might take a few times, but at least I get experience and exposure to it. So then later in life, it's easier to deal with.
Trying to do the things that maybe made me scared, and then realizing, hey, maybe they're not so scary.
Being more aware of why I have them. The reality is different from the fear. The fear is something that's it's not here anymore.
I now realize how much I let fear prevent me from thinking rationally, both before and during this trip, especially about the simple things, such as what to pack for breakfast or which wind jacket to bring. When I am overwhelmed about or afraid of doing an activity, I usually behave my way into making sure that I do not have time to go and do it, by procrastinating the things I must get done before I go and do the activity. In the days leading up to this trip, I rarely went a day without crying because I was so overwhelmed. I gave into my fears because it was easier. A quote from the musical Hamilton has stuck with me in regards to these unsettling emotions that I've experienced. The quote is, "Sometimes when you're in so deep, it seems easier to just swim down." It is cliche to say, you cannot let fear control your life. While this may be true, I now believe that we need to think about fear from a completely different lens. If I can leave you with one thought that I have learned while doing these interviews, it's that fear is not something that we are supposed to be afraid of, or desire to surpass and overcome it. Much like summiting a mountain, once you reach the top, you are finished. It is something that we are supposed to be mindful of and okay with, because no matter what, fear will always be present in our lives in one way or another, like that thistle bush that somehow finds roots right in the middle of the trail. The sooner we become okay with that, the sooner fear will lessen and not play as much of a paralyzing and anxiety-inducing role in our lives.